It seems like every single day we have further proof that Disney has alienated not only their Star Wars fans, their MCU fans, their Pixar fans. Trends basically across the board are going down for every single franchise, even the bulletproof stuff. Like, let's say The Mandalorian are now starting to fail under the watchful eye of Bob Iger, while Kathleen Kennedy, who is rumored to be leaving Lucasfilm this year, somehow is still the president of Lucasfilm, despite massive failure after massive failure. Every single strategy Disney comes up with for any of these franchises seems to backfire on them in a major way, and I'm absolutely giddy with laughter when I see the different reactions to this. You have some people that just want to hold some water for Disney and just pray that this can't actually be what's happening, while you have other news sources out there being honest and actually telling you what's happening. It's absolutely hilarious. A new report from The Wrap claims The Mandalorian Season 3 premiere suffered a surprisingly weak performance on Disney Plus compared to other Star Wars series. Despite the trailer breaking records for the Star Wars franchise, its premiere trailed behind Obi-Wan Kenobi and The Book of Boba Fett, although its viewership did exceed the recent Andor series premiere by close to 50%. So I guess the glass is half full mentality is, at least they haven't killed The Mandalorian so bad that less people want to watch it than Andor, which nobody was interested in whatsoever. This is supposed to be like the flagship show, not only for Star Wars, but really for Disney Plus. This is what they hang their hat on. This was their first big success. And in the matter of only 3 or 4 years, they've somehow tarnished the brand so much, along with everything else that they produce, that people aren't interested in watching this again either. And it's absolutely insane that Disney and Kathleen Kennedy didn't see this coming from about a mile away. People liked The Mandalorian because it was basically standalone. Sure, it was associated with Boba Fett and some characters that people actually like within the Star Wars universe, but Jon Favreau was pretty much going solo and nobody was touching his stuff. It was pretty much his to deal with, and people liked what he had to say within the Star Wars universe. What did they do with the Book of Boba Fett? They went out there and they took his characters and his story and they went and destroyed it. A Boba Fett streaming show that wasn't successful and somehow tainted The Mandalorian in the process. How is this stuff even possible? And if it is possible, and it actually did happen, we have the proof now. How are these people not losing their jobs? Disney's cutting costs left and right. We need to save money, on production and all this stuff. The first place they need to start saving money is firing all these dipshits and keep the competent people like a Jon Favreau in charge and get rid of all the people that are destroying their properties left and right. I did love the direct trying to make some excuses for the failure of Mandalorian Season 3. They state one has to wonder whether some sense of Star Wars fatigue, if that's even real, is beginning to settle in. That may well be one of the factors leading to its decline going into the blockbuster series' third go-around, but there are undoubtedly many others. The huge viewership that came with the debut trailer clearly points towards significant interest in the show, possibly even beyond that of Obi-Wan Kenobi. So chances are this was just a rough start, and the audience numbers will grow across coming episodes as the surprises unfold and excitement increases. I like that they brought up Obi-Wan Kenobi in there because I think that's another mitigating factor. They actually took something that people wanted to see and they served him up a pile of dog shit once again, because Star Wars is no longer a brand synonymous with amazing stories told in a galaxy far, far away. It's synonymous with Disney's failure trying to incorporate social commentary about our really boring, lame-ass lives here on Earth into their storytelling. And every time they do it, it's as hand-fisted as you could possibly imagine. It absolutely sinks the interest in their programs and runs people off for good. Customers aren't even coming back to taste test anymore. And it's looking more and more like maybe it wasn't the football deal in India that was responsible for all those Disney Plus subscription losses. Maybe just the interest in Disney as a brand, which we have plenty of proof of, is actually waning quite substantially as Disney time and time again proves that if you love a franchise and they acquire it, they are absolutely going to ruin it. Thankfully, there are some people out there that are looking at this information and being a little bit more honest than direct about it. This is what WDW Pro at thatparkplace.com had to say. The big stat that should be catching your eye is The Mandalorian Season 3 is looking to have debuted to an audience roughly half the size of Season 2. That parallels what we've seen with Black Panther 1 versus Black Panther 2. It parallels what we've seen from Ant-Man 2 versus Ant-Man 3. Across a number of Disney major releases, it appears that half the audience has disappeared. Well, disappeared, I think, is being very gracious to Disney and their strategies with these franchises. I think they have run off half their audience. And at this point, there's no getting them back probably until a Bob Iger, a Kathleen Kennedy, maybe even Kevin Feige has to be sacrificed at this point, and people can actually have confidence that Disney isn't just a propaganda machine, that they're actually going to be a family entertainment company once again, because they have absolutely lost their way. They are no longer the trusted name in family entertainment. I would take my kids to a Universal animated show before I would take them to a Disney movie ever again, especially after taking my 7-year-old to see Strange World and just being completely uncomfortable and bored the entire goddamn time. It is not a family brand anymore. It's not kid-friendly entertainment. It's just a bunch of bullshit, and apparently they've driven off half their audience. Shocking that every single week now we get further proof that this is no longer a conspiracy, that this no longer, maybe it could happen. Oh no, it absolutely happened. And they've got a lot of work to do to get the trust of Star Wars, Pixar, Marvel fans back in on this. And Bob Iger has a big part to play in this, and he has a strategy to get these people back, which I'm going to talk about right here on the channel tomorrow, first thing. And it's a terrible strategy, and it's going to fail spectacularly. This guy doesn't know dick about his audience anymore. He's completely lost touch because he got infiltrated by a bunch of activist group thinkers, and now he thinks he's making movies to change the world instead of actually entertain people that are paying money to see them. Further proof that Disney just destroys everything it touches. Disney Plus canceled the Lucasfilm Willow series, a sequel to the 1988 movie of the same title, after a single season. The news comes 2 months after the 8-episode season concluded its run. Disney Plus doesn't provide viewing data for its programming, but Willow didn't break into the Nielsen top 10 rankings of streaming titles during its run. The series earned mostly positive reviews from the critics. So yes, Disney does have a lot of people in the pocket. They're out there carrying water for Disney, and they're claiming that all this entertainment is amazing. The problem is, if you go and watch Willow, it's absolutely trash. And I'm somebody that watched Willow when I was about 12 years old, and I actually liked it. You know, I don't know that you could make a successful Willow streaming show without Mad Mardigan, but hey, you could have at least tried. Why is a sci-fi magic universe about LGBTQ stuff now? Because it's the only thing Disney can think about anymore. They even went out and destroyed something as insignificant and as unimportant as Willow because they just can't help themselves. It doesn't matter how many people they run off. It doesn't matter how much the box office decreases over time, and it's decreasing rapidly for the MCU. It's absolutely died for Star Wars. It doesn't matter how many people they run off of Disney Plus and how many people stop watching their programming. It doesn't matter how many people stop going to their theme parks because they don't believe in the Disney brand. Bob Iger has drank his own Kool-Aid. These idiots really think that it's their job to groom children. It's their job to influence the behavior and the activities of children in the way that they think. And people have caught on. And they've checked out. Sure, there are still some true believers out there. There are a lot of diehard Disney fans that will probably never give up. You know, and I'm glad for them. Don't ever give up on something that you love. I understand there are some Star Wars people that still can't accept the fact that Star Wars is dead, even if the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian were good, and you really think I should watch Andor, which I really just don't give any shits about. I'm a Star Wars fan, and I have no intention of ever watching that. And apparently, that's half the Star Wars audience they started with The Mandalorian. As they've checked out, they stopped watching, and they aren't supporting these franchises anymore. Not only are they not giving their money, they're not even giving their time or their consideration to even thinking about it anymore. And guess what? You're making the right move. If you've checked out on the MCU, Star Wars, Pixar, just Disney in general, you're being pretty smart because we've heard the rumors. We know what's coming up for Disney. Right now, they're planning a whole new set of movies to kick everything off again. And guess what? It's the most hideous idea I've ever heard. If you were in charge of Star Wars, this is the plan you would use to kill it for good. If you haven't seen this, you got to check it out right now. There's also a link in the video description.